Welcome to the Irresistible You podcast. This is the place to get a dose of empowerment to create the life you crave and deserve. I'm your host, Amy Beltran, CEO and founder of Irresistible University. Through my podcast and my signature online coaching program, I teach women just like you how to ditch the body image issues, gain confidence, and lose the emotional weight to look and feel irresistible at any size. If you like this podcast, then you're going to love my group coaching program. If you would like to learn more about the program, including the investment, more about the details, and see client testimonials, head on over to irresistibleicing.com/course. The link is also in the show notes. All right, guys, let's just jump into today's episode. So I want you to ask yourself, how many times have I said to myself, I'll do it when? I'll do it when I get to my goal weight. You say to yourself, when I lose some weight, I'll buy the bathing suit. I'll book the vacation. I'll meet up with old friends that I haven't seen in a while. I'll take better care of myself. I'll go to the salon. I'll do something nice for myself. And I know for some of you, it goes even deeper than those kinds of things. It's things like, when I lose the weight, I will start dating. When I lose the weight, I will start having kids. When I lose the weight, I will get out of this toxic relationship. And I want you to understand that when you tell yourself these things, you're putting your life on hold for a number. And you're sitting there waiting for some magical moment to happen on the scale where you can then give yourself permission to go and live your best life. But what if I told you that your best life is actually happening right now, regardless of what the scale says? So, in this episode today, we're going to be talking about why you wait for the wait and how to start living in the moment. Because we don't have to sit here and wait for some bullshit magic unicorn moment because our life has already started. And that's what we're diving into. So, if that sounds good to you, stick around. So, I want you to just think about how at some point in your life you created a rule. Okay, there's some kind of a rule that you have created somewhere along the way in your life that told you that you have to put certain things on hold until you look a certain way. You have to put certain things in your life on hold until you weigh a certain number or you can fit into a certain size, because it's a way of punishing yourself for all of the all of the dislike, the hate that you have about yourself and your body. And what ends up happening is then all these dreams and goals that you have, you're not realizing them, you're not going after them because somewhere along the way you don't feel that you're deserving of those things because of what you look like, because of what you weigh. And you tell yourself that, when I lose the weight, then I'm going to live my best life. When I lose the weight, I'm going to be outgoing. When I lose the weight, I'm going to go after this. I'm going to go after that. But the truth is that the weight loss is not going to give you the best life that you're looking for. And I think there's this illusion that builds up in your brain about what a best life even is for you. So you think you envision this best life of you laying on the beach, drinking cocktails and laughing, and maybe you're partying it up on a yacht or a boat or traveling around the world or having these parties and just all of these things that seem so far removed from where you are today. It's so night and day in what you're envisioning. And it's when I get to my goal, all of these things are going to just happen for me because I'm going to feel confident. I'm going to feel confident in myself to be able to make these things happen because I'll be skinny. And I can remember my very first memory of something like this. I think I was in sixth grade maybe. And I just remember because in sixth grade, we went from our elementary school into middle school and we integrated with another elementary school. So I hardly knew anybody. I was already, the overweight, little chubby kid, the shy kid. I had a hard time making friends. And now that I was in this really big school with all these people that I didn't know, I was so scared. It was the most terrifying thing. And I just remember thinking, well, if I just lose my weight, if I can just get some of this weight off, then I'm going to be one of the popular girls. Then people are going to like me and I'm going to have more friends and I'm going to be cool and, all that kind of stuff. Little Amy at like 10, 11 years old, already connecting the dots that if I lose the weight, then I'm going to get this type of life and I'm going to magically not be shy. I'm not going to have a hard time making friends. And, think about for yourself where this rule, at what point did this come along for you that you told yourself you're not worthy of things unless you lose weight? Okay. So, getting to goal weight is a beautiful thing. Getting to goal weight feels good. You can slide into your jeans. You can wear things you haven't worn in a very long time, or maybe for the first time ever. You just physically are probably going to feel a lot better to get that weight off of your body. But let's not be disillusioned that goal weight is the magic key to this life. Getting to goal weight doesn't magically take away all of the other mundane shit going on in your life. Getting to goal weight doesn't take away your shyness. Getting to goal weight doesn't take away your anxiety, your depression, your negative thoughts about yourself. All it does is it gives you a different version of your body. And if you hate yourself now, if you pick yourself apart now, if you don't like the body you're in now, you're probably not going to like the body you have at goal weight because you're going to find other things to complain about. You're going to find other things to pick apart. You're going to start in on, oh my God, I lost all the weight. Now I've got all this disgusting loose skin. Now I've lost all the weight and I look saggy. Now I lost all the weight. Like, oh my God, now I can see all these wrinkles. And you're going to start obsessing over other things if you haven't learned how to really love and respect yourself at your larger size. So goal weight is great. It's a great thing to strive for, but I want you to stop thinking that just because I get to goal weight, it's going to open this magic door to this best life that I've been dreaming and just thinking about all the time. Okay. And another thing that we really do when we're stuck in this yo-yo diet, body hate, shame cycle is just the thinking and the mindset and the mentality that we are constantly starting and stopping. We are constantly starting over. I'm going to start the diet on Monday. I'm going to start over on January 1st. I'm going to start over on the 1st. I'm going to start over when things slow down. I'm going to start over when the holidays are over. Oh, summer's coming. I'm going to start over when that's over with. And how many times have you put yourself through this ridiculous cycle of starting and stopping, starting and stopping? And so what you end up doing is you're telling yourself that my life doesn't begin until I start a new diet and I do this diet absolutely perfectly, like by the book. And if I can't do it absolutely perfectly by the book, following all the like ridiculous rules that it comes with, then I'm not good enough and I'm going to have to start over. And there was this moment the other day. I was having a coaching call inside of our private Irresistible You program. And one of my students, we were talking about this start and stop concept. And she said something so amazing. And I just wanted to like share this with you guys. Because she said, when you tell yourself that you're starting and stopping, you're already giving yourself permission to fail. Because you're giving yourself a stop date. You're giving yourself an out that you're going to stop. So when you tell yourself, I'm going to start on Monday, it's kind of like you're already telling yourself, without telling yourself, you're telling yourself that there's an end to this. There's a stop date to this. Whether you fail or not, you're telling yourself there's a stop to this. And what I want you, number one, as we talk about, this episode, I want you to get into your brain that there is no more starting and stopping. Your life doesn't start and stop because you're losing and gaining weight. Your life started the day you were born. Your life stops the day you stop breathing. So this illusion that you're creating of starting and stopping, it's just that. It's an illusion. It's not reality. And what if instead you just decided that your life is happening right now? Your life started again, the start of the day you were born. And your life is happening. Your life is happening. And you either decide, I'm going to be miserable, or I'm going to make a decision that my best life is already happening to me right now. And I get to decide what that looks like. You know, because this whole concept of like, well, when I get here, I'll do this. When I get there, I'll start that. But the process of getting you to that point, that's your life. And if you don't like that part of it, then you're already putting yourself in this position where there are conditions upon when your life is allowed to be good, when you are allowed to live your best life. And you're giving yourself these conditions that when I lose the weight, then I'm always going to feel amazing because I'll just be skinny. So whatever bad is going on, it won't matter. And that's a bunch of bullshit that you've been sold and that you've lied to yourself about. And we have to break that rule. We have to break those beliefs that you have. Because your life is happening now. So why not learn how to live your best life now, regardless of what the scale says? Because this whole journey, this whole process to get to your goal weight, this is your life. You can't do it in a bubble. Because if you don't learn how to lose weight in times that are stressful, in times that are chaotic, in times that are overwhelming, you're never going to keep the weight off anyways. And so then you're just going to keep repeating the yo-yo diet, body, hate, shame cycle for the rest of your life. And I don't know about you, but I would much rather for the rest of my life just know that I'm living my best life, doing all of these things, and it's not going to be contingent upon what the scale says or if I'm having a good or a bad week. Because as human beings, we're going to have good weeks, we're going to have bad weeks, and we're going to have everything in between. And life doesn't give a shit how much you weigh. Hurricanes, storms, tornadoes, they don't care what the scale says. They don't care that you're sitting there in a size 8. They don't care. Okay, so we just have to decide and make a decision that we are no longer starting and stopping. This is a journey. This is a journey because your life is a journey. Your life is a journey full of bumps in the road, full of joy, full of tears, full of everything. It's full of everything. And weight loss is not this thing that you do in a bubble. It is your life. It is your life. And so do you want to continue to do things in a bubble? Because then that bubble's going to burst. And you're going to have to learn how to deal with life. You're going to have to learn to face your emotions. And because you're not doing those things is why you keep struggling up and down the scale. So the concept of living your best life, that's up to you. That is a decision that you get to make today, right now, as you're listening to this, that I'm going to just decide that I'm going to start living my best life today. I'm not sitting here waiting for some magic unicorn moment because that's never going to happen. That's never going to happen. So one of the things that you have to do when you're thinking about, I'm in this place where I'm not where I want to be on the scale. I'm not where I want to be in this body, but I know that I deserve to be happy. I know that I deserve to live a better life. I know that I deserve to take better care of myself. I want to learn, how to have more confidence. I want to learn this self-love thing that Amy's always talking about. So one of the first things you really have to do, this is part of your homework, this is what I want you to do as some takeaways, is you have to define what kind of person, what kind of woman do you want to be? What kind of woman do you want to become? Because to become the type of woman that you want to be, it's a process. It's an ongoing journey. It's an ongoing process of learning, of failing, of figuring out what works, figuring out what doesn't work. And it doesn't have anything to do with the scale. And what if for a second you just thought about this too? Okay, listen. If I stopped focusing so much on the diet, the meal plan, the keto, the carbs, the macros, the points, the da 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 da? What if I stopped focusing so much on that and, ooh, what's going to work for me? Or, ooh, how did she lose weight? Or, ooh, what is she doing? And what if instead you started focusing on how to clean your own shit up? You started focusing on how to love yourself, how to speak to yourself, how to think differently, how to show up for yourself differently. So that you're teaching yourself that you are worthy of all of these things, regardless of how the scale moves or doesn't move. Because even when you're, following the meal plan and counting the calories and doing this and doing that, you're going to have weeks where, guess what? The scale doesn't move. Weeks where even when you're doing everything, the scale goes up. And when you get to your goal weight and you're no longer in that high every week or every couple weeks of seeing the number go down, well, then what are you going to do? Where's that high coming from? If you've put so much of your energy, so much of your time, so much of just every part of your being is sitting there waiting to see the scale go down, because that's where you're getting like your natural high, your happiness from. And that's going to go away when you get to your goal also. And now you're in maintenance. And it's like, if you don't learn these skills at your biggest, you're sure as hell not going to know how to do it at your smallest. So first and foremost, what I want you to do is I want you to think about who you want to become. Who is she? What is that version of yourself that you're striving for? And let me tell you, that version of yourself is not a woman who's just you but skinny. That's bullshit. And if that's what you're writing down or that's what you're saying, then I'm going to challenge the hell out of you to think differently. And I know that you've never done this work. So here's the thing. You sit there and you have this vision of like, oh my God, I want to be living my best life. I want to be doing this and I want to go do this and I'm going to do that and I'm going to be on vacation and I'm going to, just all these things, these dreams that you have for yourself. Okay. And as you're dreaming about it and thinking about it, you're probably dreaming about it as you, and you're like skinny or thinner, and you're able to do all these things. Okay? And the only thing that you've ever thought about wanting for yourself that's different is just to lose the weight, to just be in a smaller body. Because the concept in your brain is like, well, if I'm smaller, then I'm going to automatically not have fear. If I'm smaller, I won't be scared to go, try new things. I won't be scared to talk to people. I won't be scared to make bigger decisions for myself. And that's just not true. So you have to think differently, and you have to start thinking differently at your bigger size. You have to start thinking differently now. Who do you want to become on the way down the scale? And we're not just I want to lose weight and I want to be thin. That is surface level bullshit, and that's not what we're doing here. And if that is the only goal that you want for yourself, is that is the only thing that you think you're worthy of having, bye. Please just leave. Because what we do here at Irresistible You is so much bigger than that. It is so much bigger than that. It is about transforming your entire life. It is about giving you the confidence to stand up to people. It is about giving you the confidence in yourself to walk away from toxic people. It is about giving you the self-love and respect to make better boundaries with people in your life. It is about creating a life for yourself that you don't have to be worried about, well, if I gain or lose weight, everything's going to change. So number one is I want you to just define who is that woman that you want to become. It's you, but it's you 2.0. Because it's still you. So don't make any mistakes there. That woman is still you. But it's like she is you if you broke the shell. If you broke down these walls, if you broke down this shell, if you took away all of the stuff that's holding you back, if you took away the emotional weight that is literally sitting on your shoulders right now, if you took all of that away, Who are you? What are your desires? What do you want? And when you do this, it's even writing down, how does she think? How does she feel? How does she show up? How does she talk to herself? And I will tell you, inside of my student program, this is one of the things that we do right off the hop in week 0, is we go through and we have the girls create this future vision for themselves. And it is granular and it is detailed, because what that does is it becomes the anchor in this journey. Because in the moment, instant gratification, instant pleasure will always feel like the best decision. When you've had a long day, when you're tired, when you're stressed out, sitting down alone for the first time at any point, like that moment at like 8, 9 o'clock, especially for those of you that are parents, that moment where you finally have a moment alone where you're not working and you're not taking care of kids and you're not running around doing errands, and you finally sit down with yourself and you just sit down and you like have the cake, you have the cheesecake, you have the whatever. That moment will always feel better than thinking about, well, what do I really want for myself? So when you create this anchor of who you want to become, that's exactly what it is. It's an anchor. It's an anchor. So we have to define, who is it that you want to become? Who are you 2.0? What is that best version of yourself? You know, in the program we talk about, this is the irresistible you version of yourself, because ultimately that's the goal, right? Is we are trying to become the irresistible you version of ourselves, which essentially is your best self. Okay. And number 2 is learning how to be present when you still feel uncomfortable. Because here is what happens when we are uncomfortable in our own skin and we don't like our body and we're obsessing about every roll, every fold, every cellulite, everything. When we're obsessing about that, and what we do is we start. So let me give an example here. I love to give examples so that it makes sense to you. So I want you to think about that moment when there's, let's say, okay, there's a wedding. There's a wedding that you were invited to like a year ago, and you knew it was coming. You put the invite on your fridge and you told yourself, and said, here's what happened. Oh my God, guys. Oh my God. When you got the invitation, instead of getting excited for your friends, like you had like this blip of excitement, like, oh my God, they're getting married. But like the next huge thought that came up for you is, oh shit, I got to get this weight off, because I'm going to see so-and-so and so-and-so and this person and that person. And oh my God, they haven't seen me since, 2005 or whatever. And so your first thought is like, I got to just get this weight off. I got to lose the weight for this wedding. And so you go into your desperate diet routine. What's the fastest way to do this? And then you also tell yourself, well, I have a year. I've got plenty of time. Well, then what happens? Life catches up to you. You get busy. It's, that instant gratification thing is happening most nights because you're not living in the moment. So you're not feeling good. You're feeling stressed out all the time. You're definitely not living your best life. And next thing you know, you're looking at the calendar and you're like, oh, shoot. That wedding is coming up in like 2 weeks. And I haven't lost nearly the amount of weight that I wanted to, or maybe I didn't lose any. So what do? You start panicking. You have nothing to wear because nothing fits. And the things that do fit, they don't look good in your mind. So you settle for something, but the whole time you're just like, I hate this outfit. I hate the way I look. I look so disgusting. I look so fat. Everybody's going to see me. Everybody's going to know. I just can't, I don't want to be in any of the pictures. I'm going to hide when the cameras come out. And you can't escape cameras in 2021, okay? So you go to the wedding, like dragging your feet the whole time. And the whole time you're there, even watching the ceremony, you can't even enjoy it because your brain is in this place of, It's going into the inner fat bitch chatter. I can't believe I did this. I look so gross. I look so fat. I can't believe I'm wearing this. I can't believe I told myself I wouldn't let this happen again. And you just beat yourself up. Okay. And the reception comes and everybody's having a good time, having some drinks, dancing. And what are you doing? You are sitting at the table, hiding yourself behind the centerpiece, sitting there on your phone, making sure you're not in the photos, making sure that if you are in the photos, you're like hiding behind the tallest person, peeking your head around the corner, and just doing all this shit that you do because you don't want to be seen. Doing all this stuff that you do because you are so embarrassed about what other people might think. Because you're embarrassed. Because what you did is you created this elaborate story around what it means. What it means that you didn't lose the weight. What it means that you are overweight. What it means that you didn't get into the gold dress that you set out to wear. You didn't get into the clothes that you sat there and pinned on Pinterest that you were going to wear to this wedding. And you feel like you failed. And so because of that, you're so completely zoned out from the present moment, because it's like this form of protection that if I create stories in my head about what John and Jane Doe might be thinking about me, then I'm like protecting myself if they go in front of everybody in the wedding and say, oh, look at you, you fat cow. And no one's going to say that, but you're telling yourself, oh my God, they're probably talking about me. And if you see anybody whispering to each other, it must be about you. And your ego is so flippin' big, because your ego doesn't mean that you think you're the shit all the time. Your ego is also that thing that takes over any of the pleasure that you're having. Your ego is the thing that in your mind, everything is about you. Everything is about you, because everybody's brain must be thinking about how you gained all this weight, how you're so big, how you're so fat, how you're so this, how you're so that. Because you created that story. And so that takes you out of the moment. And it's like this out-of-body experience where you're physically sitting there, but emotionally and mentally, you're gone. You're somewhere else. You're thinking about, well, when I get home, I'm going to start over. I'm going to enjoy myself and eat all this food tonight, but I'm going to start over. Or you do the opposite, where you don't even allow yourself to eat at the wedding. You don't even allow yourself to have the piece of cake because you're punishing yourself for not losing your weight. Like, if that feels like something you have done, if that what I just described feels so real to you, come into the Facebook group and I want you to share that with us, because we're going to do another Irresistible You live show on Tuesday, March 30th, 11 a.m. Eastern Time, and we're going to talk about this in more detail. So I want you to come in there and I want you to share, how have you allowed yourself to not be present because of your body? Okay. So the second thing we have to do to break this cycle is we have to learn how to be present when you still feel uncomfortable. Okay, so let's go back to that example of like everything leading up to the wedding. You told yourself you were going to lose the weight, you didn't lose the weight, and here you are. Okay, you have to, like, there's nothing you can do to change that right now. You cannot get the weight off in a couple days. You cannot get all of the weight off in 2 weeks. So you just have to decide of like, I'm either going to go to this wedding and I'm going to be completely zoned out and miserable, or I'm going to just choose to have a good time, even though I might still feel uncomfortable in my skin. What I'm not telling you to do is to go from, oh, I love myself, I feel so good, I know I look good. If you don't feel that way, you don't feel that way. And what I'm telling you is that it is okay to feel uncomfortable in your own skin. What's not okay is the zombie walking, the zoning out piece of it. So you meet yourself where you are and be like, okay, I don't love the body I'm in right now. I do feel a little bit uncomfortable, but I'm not going to let that stop me from socializing. I'm not going to let that stop me from, hanging out with everybody and getting in the pictures. Because here's the reality. We don't get that moment back. We don't get that wedding back. We don't get a do-over in life. So your best life, whether you're you know, 200 pounds over your goal, or you're at, like, your best life is happening now. It's happening right now. And your life, outside of these events, because the events and the things that we do are like, we're not going to events usually all the time, especially lately, right? But our life is happening in the small moments. Our life is happening in the dishes, right? Our life is happening in the conversations that happen after dinner while we're doing the dishes with our spouse. Our life is happening while we're giving our kids baths in the bathroom. Our life is happening while we're driving to go drop something off at the store, to go take something back. Our life is happening when we're waking up in the morning getting ready for work. So think about that. You got to get up every day and go to work. And when you get up every day to go to work, you either get to say, oh God, I hate this shit. Oh, I hate my job. Ugh. And that's really starting your day off well. That's really, getting yourself off to the right start. Or you get to tell yourself, I get to get ready this morning because I get to go to work and I get to make an income and I get to take care of myself and my family. So the situation doesn't change in either of these examples. The circumstance is a circumstance. But how you decide to show up and be present is everything. And it is life-changing when you do this work. I promise you, it is life-changing because I was that person. Oh God, I hate this shit. And everything is just me, 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 me. And wham, 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 wham. And that is annoying. I'm getting irritated just talking about it. So if you don't like that, if you don't like how you are currently, then change it. You and only you get to decide. There is no person that's going to come along and rescue you. So if you're sitting there, and let's think about this, and no weight loss is going to be coming through here rescuing you either. Because even in your smaller body, you still go to events. Even your smaller body, you still got to do the dishes. You still got to go to work. You still got to go run errands. So what if you just changed the concept of like, I'm going to be present even when things are uncomfortable, and my best life is happening right now. Because here's the other thing. You know how like when you plan a vacation and you're like counting down the days and you can't wait and it's like you're just living for the vacation? Or even, how about this one? This was really me back in the day. How about if you're only living for the weekend, right? That moment where like you're only living for the weekend. So everything else that's happening doesn't matter because you're just living for the weekend because you hate your life, you hate your job, you hate your body, you hate da-da-da-da. And so all you do is sit there and wait for the weekend. That is not living. That is not living. And so when your life gets so much better when you just accept, or not even accept, we don't like to use that word. When you just acknowledge that part of the human experience is also to have suffering. Part of the human experience is to live in the mundane. And what you end up doing, so let's say, you don't like doing the dishes. Let's just use that as an example, right? You don't like doing it. But then what you do is you create unnecessary suffering on top of that. Most people don't really enjoy doing the dishes. It's just something we have to do and get it over with and get it done. And I'm not saying that you need to sit here and be like, oh my God, I'm like doing the dishes and I'm loving life and this is amazing. But it's like just saying like, and now I'm going to do the dishes. And while you're doing the dishes, maybe you're having a conversation with your husband or your wife or your kids, or you're just, you're not so focused on, this sucks. Poor me. I'm such a victim. Wah. Right? Like, get over yourself. Honestly. Get over yourself. The world does not revolve around you. And you're not the only person who's overweight. You're not the only person who hates the dishes. You're not the only person who has a shitty ass job. You're not the only person, blah, blah, blah. And if you don't like certain things about your life, change them. And I'm not saying that in like this Pollyanna-ish way of like, oh, just go out and change it, because I know it doesn't happen that way. But you have to start setting up the dominoes in your life to be able to make those changes. Because staying in a shitty job, believe it or not, it's a choice. It's a choice. So you just gotta stop creating this unnecessary suffering for yourself. The unnecessary suffering is the bitching and complaining. The inner fat bitch stuff. I hate my body. If I would have lost the weight. Oh my God, I hate the dishes. And like, stop the pity party. Stop the victim stuff. And start taking control. And when you start doing that, you will start living your best life, because now you're in control. You're empowered. These decisions like gaining the weight, binge eating, emotional eating, those things aren't just happening to you. They're decisions that you're making, and right now you've probably been making them on like an unconscious level, and it's time to wake up. It's time to wake up. Because you have to learn how to live in the present, and also learn how to live in the present when it is uncomfortable. And that means even if you're in the body right now, like that you don't love, not wishing your time away until you get skinny, not wishing your time away till you can fit in a different size, but instead saying, okay, I'm working on myself. I don't love what I see right now, and that's okay, because I'm going to start taking better care of myself. These are the things that I'm going to start doing, that I'm going to start working on. And you start enjoying the journey and the process instead of doing the process and the journey in this disgustingly hard bubble. Well, I'm just going to put my head down and get the weight off, and I'm not allowed to eat bananas, and I'm not allowed to eat grapes, and I can't have this, and I can't have that. And then when I get where I want to be, I'll stop doing all that. And what if instead you just decided, I'm going to learn how to eat in moderation. I'm going to learn how to take better care of myself. I'm going to learn how to talk differently, how to think differently. And that goes back to, what is that version of yourself that you described that you want to become? Okay. And number 3 here is that you have to create an identity for yourself outside of just being the fat girl. And here's what I mean by that. When you have been on this chronic yo-yo diet, body hate, shame cycle, that has oddly become your identity. It's like you think that losing all of your weight is going to be your biggest life's work. But what if weight loss is not your major contribution to life? What if your contribution to life is those big scary goals that you're putting on hold because you're afraid of being seen because of the weight? What if your contribution to life is building that business that you've always dreamed about, but you've thought of 500 reasons why it's not going to work? Or what if it's, learning, just whatever those things are. And that's why you have to go back to, who do you want to become? What are your goals? What are your dreams outside of weight loss? Because being the token fat girl is not your identity. We have to change that. Who would you become if you weren't constantly obsessing about weight? Think about the wedding again. Who would you become if you weren't zoning out because you're so miserable in your own skin? Does that mean if you're naturally shy or anxious, you're going to have to deal with that? Yeah. So maybe that's why you're not dealing with the weight. Because guys, I always tell you, weight's a symptom. It's not the problem. It feels like the biggest problem because it's visible, it's tangible, all of the things, but it's not the actual problem. So who would you be if you weren't the fat friend? Who would you be if you weren't the wing woman? And why do you allow yourself to fall into that identity? Why are you doing that to yourself? You deserve so much more than that. So much more than that. So you have to create an identity outside of just thinking you're just the fat girl, you're just the fat friend. Because your best life is happening right now if you choose to have it. If you so choose, your best life is happening now. That is your choice to make. That is your choice to make. So that was a lot. I hope this was helpful, and we want to continue this discussion. We're going to continue this discussion over in the free Facebook group. So if you are not a member, please request to join. It is absolutely free. It is free to join, and we are having the live show on Tuesday, March 30th at 11 a.m. That is your opportunity to come and chat with me live, share your aha moments. What questions came up for you on this episode? What thoughts do you have? What roadblocks did you hit as I said certain things, as I know things hit a nerve and you're like, ooh, that's the kind of stuff I want you to bring over into the group. The link is in the show notes. You can also type in Irresistible You in the Facebook search bar under groups and you will find us. Just request to join. And I will see you there. If this episode was helpful to you, please head over to iTunes and leave a rating and review. That helps the podcast get shown to other women who need to hear this message so that they can also create an irresistible life as well. Thank you guys so much for listening. I will catch you in the next one. Until then, stay irresistible. Bye, guys.